Alright guys, I basically wanted to make a video about parking tickets, because I get a shit ton of parking tickets. Like, I have a few here. I just wanted to, I just have them lying around, and I just thought it would be a good idea to make a video on my experiences. So I mean, I've got one here, I've got one here, Gladstone solicitors, because I haven't paid them. This one is, what's this one? I think this is a bus lane ticket. Got a speeding one here as well. Okay, I'm not a bad driver, okay? I know it seems like it, but I'm not. The speeding one is actually a very interesting story. I can speak about it another time. If you follow the channel, maybe you'll find out. But that's a very interesting story. And then bus lane ticket. This was from. This was given to me. I don't know. Okay, we're here to talk about parking tickets, really. So, yeah. So let me just break down what I do. What I do for my job is I have to go to Subway stores and install point of sale systems, which come in boxes like this. You can probably see here. Yeah, that's a point of sale system in a box. But it's basically like a little computer system where staff do transactions for Subway. So yeah, as I'm saying, I have to go to the stores. I have to travel, usually on average 2.5 hours there, 2.5 hours back, and I have to do about 12 maximum stores a day, which take about 30 to 45 minutes to set up. And how I see it is it should take me 20 minutes, assuming everything goes well. Now that's a very key point of this of my mindset, is because I assume it takes 20 minutes to install. My brain thinks, my weird brain for some reason thinks, oh okay, 20 minutes, you won't get a parking ticket in 20 minutes. If you park on this double yellow line, you should be fine. I can see it through the store. Yeah, it saves me time because I have to do so many installations. So it'll be fine if I just park here for a moment, take my boxes out, take it into the store, get done in 20 minutes, get back in. Hopefully, fingers crossed, I don't get a ticket. And unfortunately, that mindset and that perspective has gotten me many tickets. But if you think of it at a grand scale, because I've done so many installations, and I've done this for pretty much every single installation, the amount of installations I've done compared to the amount of tickets I've got is very, very small. But the amount of tickets on their own, just thinking about them, is quite a lot, like a shit ton. It's about 50, 60 tickets. Now, you can imagine each ticket cost about, 30, 60 pounds. So it's a lot of money that adds up. And sometimes I don't pay them because I lose track. And because the car that I have is a company car, the ticket goes to the leasing company, and the leasing company sends it to us. So not only do we have to pay for the parking ticket itself, but we also have to pay for the admin fee for the leasing company to send the letter to us, because they want to make a little bit of money on top, which is flipping stupid to me. But I mean, what can I do? So the company has to pay for that. But yeah, I mean, now that we're talking about the company as well, there's a running joke in the office that because I get so many tickets, I should be setting up a direct debit with them so I can automatically pay them for the tickets that I get, because it's ridiculous. Like, every week I'm getting a letter. It's funny, but at the same time it's a bit embarrassing that I'm getting so many tickets, and financially isn't the best thing to do. So I need to really be thinking about where I'm parking. But this is just my experience. I'm not like saying, and anyway, off that. So yeah, it takes me 20 minutes to install the system in my head, which usually sometimes it does. So I park up as close as possible to the store. Sometimes it ends up being on a yellow line, or sometimes it ends up being on a side road where I think no one's gonna catch me, because usually the parking spots that are available where I can legally park and have to pay for, they're quite a walk away. It's about 5 minutes. And if you got to assume, if I'm carrying boxes like this, all these boxes here, it's going to take me 3 or 4 trips to take all the boxes in. Whereas if I'm parked on a double yellow line, pretty much next to the store, it will take me about a minute or two, just quickly taking the boxes, take them back out, and then park somewhere else. But yeah, so within that time, as I'm doing that, the 20 minutes, sometimes there's issues and I have to stay there and I have to solve them. And unfortunately, I can't exactly just dump everything and say, look, I have to go move my car because I'm gonna go get a ticket, because that just makes me look bad. The franchisee for the store is losing sales because this midway through installing their systems, which means their software is down, which also means they can't process card transactions or even cash transactions sometimes because their staff are incapable of doing transactions. This is just my experience, okay? So I'm not digging at anyone, but this is just my experience. Every store I go to, they say, oh no, we can't calculate it, blah blah blah, which makes you think, like, what's happening with our society? We're too focused on we don't even have to do basic calculations. It's ridiculous. Like, anyway, so yeah, so it's an inconvenience for them, so I have to stay there and make sure that the job is done as quickly as possible so that they're up and running and it causes minimum interruptions as possible. And then obviously, because I'm doing that and I've decided to park in such a stupid spot because I wanted to save a bit of time, I'll end up getting a ticket. Now, I'm not saying always, but this sometimes it happens, and that's why I've got so many, because it adds up. But yeah, so that's basically the gist of it. But now I just wanted to tell you a story, and I basically questioned a traffic warden about certain things. So there was this one installation I had. It wasn't a POS, it was CCTV. I went to Liverpool. So the store was in Liverpool. I went there with my friend who was also my work colleague. We drove over. There was no parking spot. Well, there wasn't a parking spot, but there was a double yellow line outside the store. And now it's not just POSs. This is ladders, tool bags, boxes, cabling, things like that. So it's quite a bit more stuff to take to the store. And I saw an ambulance drive past the first time, and it was a very narrow road, and where the yellow lines was, it does look like a one-way street that no one really comes down. But because I saw that ambulance, I was like, okay, I'm not gonna park there because maybe there's another ambulance, maybe there's a police car, maybe emergency services need to get past. So I saw a disabled parking spot. Well, it was like a little parking area which held about maybe 8-9 cars. So there was no cars in there at all. Maybe there was one, but the parking spots were empty completely. So we parked there, put our hazards on, taking the stuff out to the store, which was literally 30-second walk across the road, and we took them in. So it was on our last trip, and basically the traffic warden came over. It was a Chinese guy. He was wearing all blue with his hat and his cap and whatever, and he came over and he was like, you can't park here. And I was like, okay, that's fine. But he said it in a very aggressive way, like, you can't park here. I was like, okay, I understand, that's completely fine, I will move my vehicle, but let me just take this last couple of bags out and then I'll come back and move the van. And he was just basically saying, no, you can't. If you leave this area, then I'm going to give you a ticket. And I said to him, like, look, I understand where you're coming from, but if you just give me a little bit of slack, I will be moving my van, sorry. I just need to take this bag over to that shop over there, and then I'll move. And he was like, nope, if you move, I'm going to give you a ticket. So I was like, okay, whatever. Then my colleague came across, and he was like, oh, okay, do you have anywhere we can park and whatever? I was like, look, I just turned to my friend, completely ignoring him. I was like, just don't show him any respect. Like, I've just asked him politely, can I just leave my vehicle here for a minute, just while we take the remaining bags over, and we'll move the van. And he was like, no. So I was like, okay, just don't show him any respect. Like, he didn't show us respect. We asked him politely. He said no. Okay, fair enough. So I basically moved the van, came back, and because it was the first fix and second fix, the first fix was the first time we saw him. The second fix we came back, and I basically took a wrong turn, and I could see that there was a side road. I basically asked him, is there a loading or unloading bay, the first time that I saw him, and he said no, you have to go park somewhere else. Like, we don't have anything here or whatever. You have to, there's a parking spot over there, you can go over there. But he didn't tell us about any loading, unloading bay. So I was like, okay, fair enough, whatever. So the second time we come, I took a wrong turn and I could see that it was a loading and unloading bay. I was like, oh, okay, there was a loading bay. So we drove up, we were taking our stuff out, and as we were driving down the road, along the path, sorry, we saw that same ticket inspector. And there was a bit of like resentment in me. I was like, whoa, I spoke to him last time and he said there wasn't an unloading loading bay and he was threatening us with a ticket. Why didn't you just tell us that there was a bay here? So I started basically questioning him when I got out. I was like, oh, are you going to give us a ticket here? And he was like, oh, no, you're all right, you can park here, that's fine. And then I just basically started questioning him. I was like, do you get enjoyment out of giving people tickets? Like, what's the reason? Like, the money that coming to you is going to the council. You don't get a commission off of it. So what's the reason? And I did a little bit of research and I tried searching, like, where do parking charges, like, where does the revenue go for parking charges? And basically everywhere I searched was you don't know, because it just goes to a general fund and no one ever knows where the money goes through, where the money goes to from there. So we don't know. So that's where inherently my issue comes from, paying for parking tickets. I'm like, why should we pay for parking? But then we started speaking about the law, and he goes, look, if you think you're in the right and you know that you're parked correctly, then you can read the law yourself and see, look, take a picture of your surroundings, your car, how it's parked, whatever, if there's any signage. You can see, look, okay, I haven't done anything wrong, this ticket you've given me is incorrect, and you can appeal it. But majority of that doesn't happen. So then I started asking him, like, why do they have ticket inspectors anyway? Like, why do they have these parking charges places anyway? And he started giving me a lesson. He was like, look, these parking these charges, these contracts that you have to these contracts you enter when parking in a certain area, the signage that you see, and traffic wardens, they're there for a reason. They're there to protect the community, they're to protect pedestrians that walk in, they're there to clear space for emergency services, for public transport, for, I don't know, maybe there's a lorry that's driving past that wouldn't be able to get through if there was a car parked. So even though it looks like there's space there for you to park, there's a reason why those laws are put into place, those parking areas are put into place. And it's basically because of the architecture thinking this out and saying, look, you can't, then we should put a parking warden here so we can reduce the amount of people that are parking, because you can't necessarily stop people from parking. They will park, and that's why they put traffic wardens and parking areas, and they charge you for it, to prevent the amount of people that go there and park. So he just basically started talking to me about that, and then I was like, we were speaking for about 45 minutes, so it was a very long time, but we had a very interesting conversation about it. And he just basically said, look, you're treating this as a game. If you're getting a lot of tickets, then you're thinking about it as in, oh, I'll park here and I'm going to take the risk of me not getting a ticket. So who's to blame? Is it you, or is it the traffic warden? And majority of the time it's going to be you for parking in the spot and taking that risk, thinking that you won't get a ticket. And sometimes you do get away with it. Like, to be fair, you can get away with it. But if there's no parking area, or if the parking area where you can legally park is quite far away, then it's sometimes an issue for some people. I don't know, it's just convenience, and it all comes down to pretty much ego. You want to park somewhere where you know you're not supposed to, but you're going to do it anyway because you think you can get away with it and you think you're above, I don't know, this is just my assumption, you think you're above the law in a way. But at the same time, when you think of the traffic wardens, this video is going to end very shortly because I only have 30 seconds left. But because this is my first video, I can only put a 15-minute video out, so it can get short. You know what? I'm just going to leave it as that. But basically, what I wanted to say was, what was I going to say? Yeah, I don't have enough time, unfortunately. But this is my first video, and there will be many more to come, so I'll probably upload a video tomorrow. And bye bye. All you have 2 seconds, 1 second, bye.